Off the Ivy, a Chicago Cubs podcast with Dan Bernstein, Matt Abbatacola, and Cody Delmendo on 312 Sports.
Off the Ivy on 312 Sports, brought to you by our friend Russ Armstrong of Chicago Window Guys. He's the owner. He'll handle everything. Call him, 847-302-9171. Check out his 5-star reviews at chicagowindowguys.com. Guys, I am starting to feel sad for some of the Cubs involved in some of this. I really know, in all honesty, that Alex Bregman at bat last night, they had a chance to have the big swing to get them back in the game. The bases are loaded. There's one out, and you're down 4-0. And you've got a chance to pop right back in it. Alex Bregman gets a hanger of a curveball, a nothing roller of a curveball. That guy, Sugano, had nothing. He was absolutely begging to just be pummeled last night. Alex Bregman is up with a chance to make a difference, and I jokingly texted Matt, this is the season right here. This is it. And I know better, but it's like, all right, dude, here you go. This is one of those moments you can't control sequencing. You can't control when you're coming up in these. Here you go, Mr. Giant $175 million contract, investment in everything, clubhouse guy. Hit the fucking ball. And it's a weak little fly out to left that scores a run. Awesome.
Yeah, I told you yesterday briefly about Sugano that his off-speed stuff, he would hang him and leave him up and hang him in there in the zone for you, and you got to be ready for it, take advantage. And he's just, and I mean, we've seen this with Bregman. He's talked about it himself. He's behind on the fastballs. He's out in front on the slow stuff. He's not reading or seeing anything properly right now, and yet he still managed to have the most hits on the team last night with 2.
I don't know what lesson to learn there.
There's no lesson to be learned.
There is no lesson to be learned. And what you just said, Dan, is exactly how I felt watching it as well. It's just like when they scored their 3 runs last night, it was just as excruciating as watching Colin Ray give up the 7 runs. Because, yeah, cool, you got a sac fly, but you had the bases loaded and no outs. And you get 1 run. You're down 7-0 to the Rockies. And like this, the weird back foot hit by pitch, and it was all set up. And JD even said it. He's like, it's too bad because now you got to face a guy who has got some pop. He's swinging a hot bat, crack, gone.
Yeah, it was over. It was over. It was over right away. I mean, this,
right.
When the Rockies were up 3-0, I had zero confidence they could come back and score 4 runs.
Yeah,
0
in Colorado.
Right? That's just how I felt about it.
Yeah.
And it's terrible that I feel that way. And Dan, you said you felt sad. I don't feel sad, and I don't feel bad for anybody, but I'm also not angry. I mean, we talked about this a little bit. I'm kind of dancing around it last week, Cody, when you were gone, that I'm not angry. I'm not gonna lose my shit over this. It's a baseball team. My life still goes on, but I'm losing interest. And I think that's the worst thing for a baseball team, for their fan base, is for people to lose interest. And I'm losing interest right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the best way to explain it, because I think I've gone through all the levels of grief, from angry to sad to numb, and then going back around the circle again. I've done it countless times to this point. And I mean, last night, I guess I was angry because y'all lost embarrassingly to the Rockies. And on the road, but I mean, hell, you look behind home plate, it was like all Cubs fans. It's just
Cody, the Rockies are 25-42. They're 13-19 at home now with that win.
Well, I don't know what to take away from that, to be honest with you. But I'll just say that, like, Coors Field is Coors Field. So even when you're down 7-0 with this offense, with what we know it can be, there was a little part of me thinking, it's like, if we could just chip away early on, maybe you can come back against this terrible bullpen that they have too, and pull it out. But they just left so many guys on base. 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position again last night. Left 8 on base.
Right. Same story. And it's really frustrating. And we've talked about the tale of 2 seasons here with this roster. Yeah. You go 20-3 in one stretch. Now you're 7-21 in your last 28 games. And it's like, and we've said this, you're not as good as your best. You're not as bad as your worst. But I'm getting the feeling right now with this team that they're closer to that bottom level than they are the top level.
Yeah, they're closer to being sellers than they are buyers.
Right, and it's terrible, Dan. And I had that conversation with our old intern, Johnny Something, my buddy Dan. We talked about it last week. And he's a huge Cubs fan.
Send my best to Johnny Something, by the way. Tell him I say hey.
I will. And we had a lengthy Cubs conversation. There. Yeah, he's the best. Absolute best. And we were talking last week about what pieces can you sell. And I said, hey, it's too early to have this conversation publicly, to do it on a podcast. We're not quite there yet. But like the framework of the conversation was worthwhile because this team is pointing in the direction of being a seller in 6 weeks sooner.
Yep. And it's just.
And what are you selling? I mean, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki.
Well, they got no trade clauses, so you're already
right.
going
So what are you trading?
Right. You could trade those guys if they accept it, but you don't get to choose the team. Like they have their list of teams they would go to. I guess. Maybe a Carson Kelly. He's a rental. I don't like having that conversation on June 10th. I understand why you brought it up.
Let's dance around it and let's leave it there now in the other room.
I think it's worth having a conversation on July 1st if nothing has gotten better, if this team's below 500, if we're 5.5 out of the wild card. And based off the first 7 minutes of this podcast, that's where it feels like they're headed. And you guys, I didn't watch the episode, but you did one of your headlines for, I think it was the beginning of the A's series last week. You were like, the turnaround starts now.
Has to.
And it had to, because the schedule is so easy here in June. You barely sneak a win out against the A's. I mean, it took an incredible comeback in that last game.
You barely got one against the Giants. You were down to your final out against the Giants.
Right. That's why we talked about that, Cody, going into that 6-game homestand. Like the turnaround had to start right there. And they went 2-4. Right. They went 2-4 against the A's and the Giants at home.
Cody, I don't know if you heard Joe Sheehan on DBU yesterday, but I think he broke it down really well on a lot of levels. And one thing that we asked him specifically was about the job that Craig Counsell is doing amid all of this. And from Joe's perspective, he said that Counsell as Brewers manager was fundamentally different than he is as Cubs manager. Because he didn't have the payroll, he took more risks, he didn't have to scramble, or he doesn't have to scramble, he doesn't have to try to make more out of less. And maybe that was the edge. That was some of the secret to Counsell, is when he was a more active manager, when he didn't have to just like, here's the lineup, I know what the back of the baseball card says, and everybody, let's go play 162, I'm going to go golfing. And that's not a bad thing. That there's a lot that can be a really solid policy on a lot of teams. Don't tinker, don't overcook, but somehow just like the Cubs, just like you said about Bregman, finding that imbalance between late on the fastball, early on the breaking stuff, everything's off. There's something similar going on, it seems, maybe with Counsell, where it's like laissez-faire, let them be professionals, let them do their thing, it's just like everything he tries backfires. And then when he trusts them and it doesn't, he doesn't overmanage stuff, we just sort of walk through these losses. And I there's no specific blame here. I'm just venting. I'm venting the fact that nothing seems to work.
Yeah. And if you want me to complain about something from Counsell last night, I was disappointed that Matt Shaw is not in there, just because like Bregman's not getting it done, or at the very least you could have moved him down. I mean, and again, I don't know who you put in the spot, but we are at a point where just something different at least gives me some optimism, a very small bit, but
You know, Cody, it's a good point to bring up, but I would like to hear the conversation with Counsell and Hoyer and Carter Hawkins if he's invited in the room. But you have Bregman 5 years, 175, and I agree with you. I mean, we said it yesterday that I wouldn't have minded to see Shaw and Horner and then Ramirez going left to right. But we knew that Swanson would be back in after a couple days off. And what if he puts Shaw in and Shaw goes 4 for 7 in a 2-day start? Are you going to not play Alex Bregman now? I mean, how does that conversation work and happen with the front office as well? Yeah, and I'm fine with it because it's not my money. You can eat the fucking money. I don't care. Eat it. Because what frightened me yesterday about your conversation with Joe Sheehan, Dan, is, and this guy does more analytics and studies and looks at numbers, and that's all he's doing. And he puts out great information. When he said the baseball cliff used to be 36, now it's 31, 32. And I know that. I knew that as a baseball fan, but just to hear a guy who's backed up by analytics and stats and numbers constantly, that's the cliff now. And here we are facing that with 3 different players that are vital parts of this team's success. It was a gut punch.
Yeah. Well, if Joe knows it, that means Jed's got to know it. And if he doesn't or disagrees, why?
Right. But if he does know it and doesn't disagree, then why sign a guy at 32 for 5/175?
Right.
Given last year's season he had to with the Red Sox.
Right. I remember when they signed the Lester deal, Theo admitted it. Theo said what everybody was thinking, like, oh my God, they signed this old guy for this many years. He won't be much at the end. And Theo's like, yeah, that's what pitching costs. That not you're going to get some years at the end. You're going to have to figure out later. He said it, and he was completely transparent about it. That's the cost of pitching. And it turned out that Lester battled his old ass off until the bitter end.
Yeah. Best free agent signing in franchise history, in my opinion.
It made something out of it at the end, but I don't get it now. I really don't understand why doubling down. It's one thing to have Swanson. It's another thing to say the entire left side of our infield is going to age together poorly. Cool.
Yeah.
And then Cody, that's where Shaw comes in. Because you're protecting also at second base. If Nico Horner, it's that wasn't really that long an extension either. And then the question is, are you doubling back down on a guy as much as you love him? He'll be 31, and then all the same questions come up.
Yeah. I know, Cody, you wanted to get into Nico as well, too.
Yeah. Yeah, before I do that, I just one last thing on Shaw is like, you could have played him in right field last night. It's not like Seiya Suzuki is doing anything for you right now. He's got a 747 OPS. I know you have to play him, but it's just my biggest point is that Shaw, his second half last year, he had an OPS over 800. He was a Gold Glove finalist at third base. He's found a way to be your utility player this year, and early on he was productive in that role. And then for some weird reason, he's just losing at bats since May began. And so I know he was on the IL, back off the IL. He's coming in pinch hitting for Moises Ballesteros in the DH spot. It's just like you're wasting a utility player in that. And in that way, in my opinion. So
yeah, and I'm not going to argue anything you said there. I agree with you, and I just wonder if just whatever he's battling is just he's not fully there yet. I mean, I was arguing for a point that he should have played right field every day when Seiya was out.
Yeah.
I mean, let's if you're going to have the kid learn, let's have him learn.
Right.
But you have opportunities here on the infield. Again, at what point does Craig say, yeah, let's get Alex a couple of days off. Let's get Shaw in there. And if it goes well, what do you do? And it's like, hey, that's not my concern to figure out. I just want this team to start playing better baseball.
Sure. Well, related to Nico Horner, I woke up early this morning because when the Cubs are bad, I can't sleep. So I was up.
Oh, no, don't. It shouldn't affect your well-being.
It affects my well-being.
Buddy, this is the commander of the FIC, and you think it shouldn't affect his well-being?
Of the FIC, this is how it goes.
Okay, okay. Right.
But I, in all seriousness, I did just kind of wake up and then I couldn't go back to sleep. But I looked up Nico Horner's numbers since the end of April. I would date it back to April 26th. It's 174 total plate appearances. I guess 100. I think it was 150 some total actual at bats, but 31 hits in those 174 plate appearances with 19 walks, with a slash line of 203, 293, 248. That's a 541 OPS, a 60 WRC plus, a 257 weighted on base average, and his hard hit percentage is below 30%. And all I can say is, as we know that who he is a guy he's not going to slug. So OPS, whatever, it's not like he can't have an OPS of 541, but if he's in the mid 700s, that's really good for him to go with that elite defense he has at second base. He's walking more this year. He's walking the most of his entire career this year. It was something we talked about when he was hot to start the year in March and most of April. You know, I see a lot of fans online pointing out to when he got hit by a pitch in the on the helmet. I want to say it was against maybe it was on this particular date. I don't remember. It just happened at the end of April, and I don't remember exactly which team it was against. But some fans point out, I remember it happened, and then he laughed it off, like he was perfectly fine. But the point that I'm bringing up with all these numbers about Nico Hoerner, and if you're not into advanced stats, you just look at a 203 batting average. For me, for someone like him who historically hasn't walked as much as he is this year, he is a guy that has to hit 280 or better because he doesn't slug, and he's not doing that. And for me, especially when he was in the leadoff spot, like he was in the leadoff spot for a majority of these games or these plate appearances, you're getting that out of him. I mean, to me, it plays a much bigger role into why they've been losing games, in my opinion, because I just think this team goes as he goes, whether he's leading off or not. Like, it's not Dexter Fowler like in the leadoff spot in 2016. I just think he is one of the leaders of this team, and you saw this team play its best in the beginning of the year with him having like an incredible start to the year, but also in the second half of last year too, when the offense was struggling. He was one of the few guys who was hitting last year.
Yeah, he's a bellwether. He is an indicator. He's a bellwether. I don't know if it's causal or if it is or if it's part of a larger picture with the team. It's an easy argument for causality, but it so happens that when he's going well, it seems like the team is going well.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
I haven't looked at the numbers to say, likelihood of a win if he does this or this, but it's certainly reasonable to look at him as a bellwether, that he when he's rolling, it tends to correlate with team success.
Yeah. And so, if you want some good news, his expected batting average is 290. His expected weight on base average is 332. But I mean, you've lost 8 of your last 9 series. No one cares to hear about expected numbers right now. And I just think at the end of the day, if this team is going to turn it around and be, somehow sneak back into the division race or just be a solid team in the wild card, I don't want to say it starts with Nico Hoerner, but it kind of starts with Nico Hoerner. To me, that's just what it is. I think PCA is your star. He is he is the lightning rod, or in many ways, that makes this offense go. But Nico Hoerner is just that steady guy who, even though he's not flashy, he doesn't hit a lot of homers. He historically has delivered with runners in scoring position, no matter where he's at in the lineup.
And he's on base a lot.
He gets on base a lot.
Don't be out.
Yeah, right. And if Counsell wants to do something with the lineup and Bregman's going to stay in there, then he's got to go 7, 8, 9. He's got to drop down. I mean, the only danger doing that is you're going to keep him and Swanson next to each other. I don't know if you want to do that, but top of the order. I mean, if you want to put Bush back up there at 1, and you want to put Nico at 2, and you want to put PCA at 3. I'm fine with that. Let's try something where guys can actually get on base and see if they can do something, and at least give them more at bats. I mean, I know Nico's struggling. You put the numbers out there, but he's like, his individual season is kind of indicative of what the entire season's been like for the team. Yeah. Remember, we're talking about MVP numbers and power numbers, and oh man, he might hit 25 home runs this year.
Yeah,
and now look where things are at.
He's currently sitting at a 1.5 FanGraphs WAR entering today. I'm pretty sure that's what he had
I was going to
like,
say that was
halfway
like
through April.
Yes.
that 1.5 war was right around like April 20th or something like
Yeah.
that.
So he's been worth 0 war for the last month and a half.
Russ Armstrong is the owner of Chicago Window Guys. And what that means is your experience with Chicago Window Guys is going to be easier. It's going to be less expensive. It's going to be more satisfying. And ultimately, it's going to be the right decision to make when it comes to getting windows in Chicagoland. Because you're inundated with Windows advertising, and you're hearing all this stuff about buy one, get one free, or buy one, get one half off, or buy two, get one, like you're in a grocery store. Windows are not a grocery store. Russ is going to explain why some of those teasers are just what they are, what things cost, what you get for your money. He'll match any price. So don't worry about price. Don't worry about that. What you need to be concerned about are the quality of the windows and the experience that you have. So you don't want to deal with a marketing company plastered over a regional window company that is then handed to some local no-names. You want Russ. Russ owns the factory, which is here in Chicago. All the crews that do the installations, the measuring, all that, they're his people. They work for him. There's no third-party labor involved that they're picking up in a parking lot and throwing in a van and sending to your house. So just talk to Russ. He can do a better job explaining than I can about everything that, like the windows he put in my house. You're going to have the same experience. It's going to be the same people doing the installation. I love the windows that I have. I could not be happier with the experience. It's the best product. It's the best price, and it's the best way to do it. So call him 847-302-9171. Check out his 5-star reviews at ChicagoWindowGuys.com.
All right. I was looking for something. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Cody.
I was going to say, can I give you something positive from this game, I guess?
I'm all ears. Do tell.
Like, it's a very small thing, but any positive you see from Dansby Swanson offensively is good. And he hit the double. He hit the double yesterday and scored on the back fly.
Let's go.
The only reason I bring it up is because, like, if he can just hit 230 and slug barely 400 in the 9-hole, that's all we're asking for. Is it worth like the $27.5 million that he's making this year? No. But we're also in year 4 of a 7-year deal. We know how these deals go.
You're Andrelton Simmons.
Yeah,
Right,
Cody, last week we looked at it and I crunched a bunch of numbers for Dansby. And in order for Dansby to get back to his career averages, he would need to, and this was last week at some point, he would need to go like 282 the rest of the year. Hit 282, which Dan and I both agreed is pretty much impossible.
Not happening.
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah. Again, this is a very small thing. It was the one thing I took away from this game that was something that hopefully is a start of something good, because usually when guys do get time off, they come back and they heat up a little bit. That's what happened with Ian Happ when he finally got some days off.
Yeah.
Right. It happened, I think, the day off after getting swept by the Brewers helped PCA kind of lock in, and he's been hot since that off day. He didn't get a day off, but you get what I'm saying. I'm hoping that Swanson will at least be more of a productive, not a complete zero in the 9-hole moving forward. And they are going to have to make a decision eventually, whether it's in the second half of this year or next year. Like, we're at the back end of this 7-year deal. And overall, he has been a very productive player for this team over the course of the time period. And if you go back to when he was signed, they could have signed if they didn't sign him, it was either Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, or Carlos Correa. And Trey Turner is the only one you can really make an argument that you should have signed. Right. But his defense is not nearly as good as Swanson's. And I think Swanson's defense has made a massive impact on the success of this organization. So it just depends on what you're looking for and how the roster team is built. Right. So I think overall he has been a success for this team. I think when you talk about dating back to 23, but we have to understand too that he's at the back end of his deal, and if things don't significantly change, like, I don't think none of us think he's going to hit 280 the rest of the season. Maybe it's a conversation more so for the offseason. I don't know, but you got a Jefferson Rojas in the minors, Pedro Ramirez. Maybe you move Horner over to short. Maybe Swanson becomes. I don't know what you do, but just because he makes a ton of money doesn't mean you have to play him every day if the bat is what it's going to be the rest of the time. Because you still got after this year, you still have 2 more seasons.
Yep.
So it's just something that this organization is going to have to think about. And considering you paid Bregman all this money, you might have 2 Jason Haywards on your hands right now, and you're just going to have to make some decisions. And I want them to act like the big market organization that they are. And if it's time to cut ties, it's time to cut ties. You have plenty of money, Tom. You can cut ties.
Well, they barely break even, so don't even let's not start there. They're fine.
I know.
The Cubs,
and we're thinking about 2032 as well. I understand. Yeah.
The Cubs at 34 and 33, just a game over 500 now, which is just incredible that they were 15 over at one point. I tried to look for something to be positive about, Cody, as well, looking at different seasons, different teams. 2023, your Chicago Cubs were 10 games under on June 8th. By September 6th, they were 12 games over. The closest team I could find right now, the 2005 San Diego Padres. They were 13 games over 500 on June 3rd at 34 and 21. They finished the season 82 and 80, which means they won 48 and 59. They won 11 games under after being 13 games over. They still made the playoffs. They finished above 500. I checked to see what they did the trade deadline, if they were able to do anything of significance. They weren't. They traded an old Phil Nevin to Texas for Chan Ho Park. That was the only move they made to add to their bullpen.
Banker that guy is, by the way.
I know.
Nevin.
Yes.
Penis.
And on the trade deadline, they were 3 games under 500. They were 51 and 54. Again, they finished 82 and 80 after being 13 games over. They went 11 games under the rest of the season, and they did make the playoffs. Don't ask what they did in the playoffs. Just keep in mind they made the playoffs.
That's insane that they won 82 games with that playoff format and made the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah, they got swept by the Cardinals in the NLDS.
Well, you told us not to ask.
Yeah, I told you. You didn't ask. You listened.
Well, I know. I thought the point was you weren't going to tell us. And I didn't say I was going to ruin
you. I just said don't ask.
Yeah, but when we're already at the point where we're kind of grasping for
that's what I'm doing. I'm
possibilities here. Look,
yes.
And Joe Sheehan did it yesterday. He still thinks, he said it before that game yesterday, he thinks the Cubs are going to make the playoffs.
Well, and Baseball Reference playoff odds still have them in as the third wild card. Sorry, they have the Phillies as the first, and then for the last 2 for the second and third wild card, it looks like it's going to come down to, according to what they're projecting, the Pirates, the Cubs, the Cardinals, and the Diamondbacks. That those 4 teams will be fighting for those final 2 wild card spots, with the Cubs edging out the Cardinals to get it.
That just sounds so painful of an experience.
Yeah, it's very painful from being 27 and 12, and when 2 10-game winning streaks to now being 7 and 21 in the last 28 games.
Yeah,
it's very painful.
Yeah, it doesn't help that our rival in St. Louis is supposed to be in year 1 of a rebuild, and here they are, the number 1 spot in the wild card right now, and then I don't have much to stand for the team on the other side of the city, but I mean, the way they won last night, it just seems like they have all the magic in the world going on.
Oh, we're going to get to that on DBU. We're going to get to that whole experience and what was going on. I flipped from the Cubs to the Sox. I kept rage quitting the Cubs. I kept rage quitting, and I watch hockey. That ended up being an exciting third period. I watched that. I couldn't stay there after a while. I was making my skin crawl.
We had the Cubs game on, but I had on my phone, I was watching the Libertyville High School boys varsity team play Lane Tech.
They beat Lane?
On my game change. They beat Lane Tech 2-1. Yeah, They beat them 2-1 I thought it was to go to the championship. It's to get into the Final Four. So I think they play Mount Carmel.
That was the regional final?
They play Mount Carmel on Friday. They win that. They're in the championship for the second season in a row.
Do they play Saturday at Mount Carmel, by the way? Do you know? I love that field. I remember.
No, they're playing in Schaumburg or no Joliet,
Okay.
the Slammers thing. That's where.
Yeah,
they're
that Mount Carmel. We had a state playoff game of some kind at Mount Carmel. I think that was Jason's first year on varsity. We played Kenwood. There It was a really exciting time, and they had like the PA system and concessions.
Oh yeah, no. Last night they played at the Schaumburg Boomers field, and then they'll be at Joliet for the Final Four.
That's cool.
The championship game. Yeah, they won. It was funny. They're up 2-1, and then in the top of the seventh, Lane Tech is up, and leadoff hitter crushes one that hit off the wall, and this dude bat flipped and stood and watched. And got a single. Proceeded to get thrown out at second, trying to steal. It was something. Yes.
Yeah.
In a 2-1 game, stood and watched the ball with a bat flip.
When he could have
easily walked into second base. Easily could have walked into second base.
Tough luck.
It was a real.
That's right at that level.
Yeah, that's. I know he's lucky. He's not playing for Jones. That would not have been pretty to see Dave respond to that. Oh boy. Yeah,
we're at
I'm saying the Hall of Fame head coach of Jones College Prep. Man, because I know exactly what he would have done with his hat. I know exactly what he would have done with the clipboard. I've got it would have been bad, real bad.
Yeah. So I was watching that while having the Cubs game on. I was staring at it, watching the kids' baseball game though. So
yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, I don't. For any Cubs fan listening to this right now, I mean, I don't blame you for turning games off. I don't blame you for not even wanting to tune in. Like Matt said at the beginning of the show, I mean, they're becoming less interesting. And it's crazy to say considering they're a game above 500, but that's because of expectations entering the year.
Well, it's also an exquisite kind of pain because they keep getting on base. They keep accepting their walks. They get leadoff singles. They get runners in scoring position. It's like you're choosing this particular kind of pain that you know is coming. 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position again. Something's got to give there.
Yeah, that's actually low. Something's
got to give there. It can't keep happening. That is choke is what that is. And there's nothing worse than watching a good team just keep choking in those situations. It sucks.
All right, I'm just going to give you what's happening tonight, and I'm not even going to get into anything else. I'm just going to share. You do what you want with it. It's Shota. Michael Lorenzen goes for the Rockies. Lots of Michael Lorenzen experience against the Cubs back in the late teens with the Reds.
Mm-hmm.
He's 2-8 currently with an 8.01 ERA. In 6 starts at home this year in Colorado, he has an ERA of 9.67. Opponent's batting average is 4.08. You do what you want with that. And
so
Shota
what?
Takes the mound for the Cubs.
Yep.
So what is exactly right.
Here comes
don't you decide what you want.
Yeah, don't care. 4-hit shutout. Shota gives up 6 home runs.
Right. And Michael Lorenzen has a no-hitter. So there we go.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the rosy optimism of Off the Ivy. It really just nothing's going to set your day off on that lovely note like what we do here for you, covering your Chicago Cubs on 312 Sports, brought to you by Russ Armstrong and Chicago Window Guys. At least they're nice and good and everything is fine in their world.
Yeah, you know what? Like when the best part of your podcast is the sponsor.
Yes, whatever. Yeah, like what can we hang our hat on?
You know, it's funny.
Chicago Window Guys.
Before I met Russ Armstrong, I used to get my windows from a guy who actually lived in a van down by the river.
Right, that was bad for you.
It was not a good look.
No,
it was not.
It was cheap. It's just not a great look for your home.
There's no glass in the windows either. It was weird.
Well, they don't break that way. 847-302-9171. Check out Russ's 5-star reviews at ChicagoWindowGuys.com.
Off the Ivy, a Chicago Cubs podcast with Dan Bernstein, Matt Abbatacola, and Cody Delmendo on 312 Sports.